and go to school is really key to be able to influence both in business and in personal life. So I'm really excited. I've seen the agenda for today, the different topics and what you're bringing to the table here. So this is going to be really, really valuable for everybody here. Okay. So for the agenda, as I mentioned, we're going to talk about Pipedrive. For some of you that are not familiar with Pipedrive, and this is the first time you're getting to know about us, we're also going to be going into real-world persuasion methods. Using the power of tone and emotion and language is really key, and how to trigger commitment without pressure. Judo moves. I like that point there. On increasing conversion while staying human. I think that's really key. And then at the end, we'll have Q&As. A little bit about this platform, guys. There's, as you notice, on the bottom right-hand corner, we have two buttons. One's for question and one's for chat. The chat are going to be for comments that you want to be posting, which we can actually, let's try that out. So if everybody can just post where you're logging in from, just put that in there in the chat. That's where we'll put these comments in. But then if you have questions, specific questions for Kevin, please put it in the questions tab there. So that's going to be really, really important there, because the chats, as you're noticing, everybody's chiming in. There's a ton of people in here, man.
We got worldwide right now. We got Brazil. I saw Brazil, Mexico City, Montana. What else? We got Spain.
Yeah, UAE, Zimbabwe.
Netherlands, Egypt, let's go, Argentina. This might be the most worldwide webinar I've ever been on before. This is Lithuania, Congo. Goodness gracious.
Yeah.
This is getting fun now.
No, it's amazing. I've done these webinars before, but I've never seen it, everybody posting so enthusiastically. So we have a pretty enthusiastic.
I saw some Portugal. I'm going to be in Portugal in about a month. So first time ever going to Portugal here pretty soon. I'm excited for
it. What part, by the way?
So I am presenting to a company in Lisbon, and then I'm bringing my family out with me as well. So we'll probably go to Porto, or is it Sicília? I think Sicília. Can't remember what it was called. My wife's doing all the planning right now.
Got it. Well, make sure, I haven't been yet, but I have a ton of coworkers in Portugal. Francesinha. You got to try Francesinha.
Okay.
They're really famous in Porto. I think you might be able to get it in Lisbon, but in Porto is where you got to go. So anyways, I feel like we could get off track with talking about food and all that stuff and traveling, but thank you for everybody for tuning in with where you're viewing this webinar from. So our next point here, about a little bit about Pipedrive. We were founded in 2010 by 5 Estonians out there that were in sales themselves. And one of the things that they saw in the market is that a lot of the CRMs weren't really focused on sales. There's, a lot of CRMs for content relationship management, but they felt the need to create their very own. And that's what birthed Pipedrive, is why I like to always call is like a CRM by salespeople for salespeople. And that's what they gave birth to a unicorn, which is basically a $1 billion valuation of a company out of Estonia. In 2020 is what we reached that milestone. We have over 770 employees from 50 nationalities, 10 offices, 8 countries, and serving over 107,000 SMBs around the world, as you can see from all the international viewers here. In one of the things that I, even as a CSM, always emphasize is the importance of the ease of use. Business is as hard as that is, right? Even sales. So your tool shouldn't be that complicated. And that's the beauty of Pipedrive, is the simplicity and the effectiveness of deploying it in such a complex environment of business. And when you're out there doing the hand-to-hand combat with sales and managing an operation. So that's what really stands us out and makes us so valuable within the experiences of our customers. And those of you that are on the fringe and looking for trying us out, we also have a 14-day trial at the bottom left-hand corner, so you can check it out for yourself. Awesome. So that's that. And then here we go with, I believe, Q&A will go. Oh, I think we had a bit of a shuffle there with the slides. Give me one sec. Pull them back up.
And yes, y'all, there will be a recording of this webinar, and it will be shared afterwards as well. So if you're not here live, you get to see it. And if you have to jump early, you will receive it. So everyone will be receiving a recording of the webinar today.
For sure. Give me one sec.
Yeah, and
waiting for the. Go ahead, Kevin.
And by the way, I'm presenting today, but I'm also a proud Pipedrive user. I've recommended it to many people across my career as well, especially like when they're getting started. It's just so much easier to get started and built the right way versus overcomplicated and everything else. So I love it. It's been good.
Got it. Okay, I see the confusion. No worries. Kevin, if you could transition over to your screen, I think you got to go to the screen sharing for your presentation, so you can take it away.
Boom.
And be chiming in here as you're doing what you do best.
All right, y'all. So I'm pumped for this. It's one of my favorite topics. Really excited to get into the psychology of all of this. And so we're just going to get right into it. So in the chat real quick, what is influence? Everybody here showed up to a webinar about influence and persuasion. I would love to know from everybody, what is influence? What do you even think influence is? Drop it in the chat for me real quick as we kick this off. What do we got? We got leadership, sales power, believability, getting people to think differently, persuasion, peer pressure, the ability to change perception, information, right? So there's all sorts of different definitions of influence, right? And what we're going to go into is just the simple definition of to guide another's decision-making process, right? To truly guide someone's process. But there's also a huge difference between influence and manipulation. And this is very, very important, right? The biggest difference between influence and manipulation is who benefits. If I am trying to persuade you and you benefit from the persuasion, that is influence. But if I'm trying to persuade you so I benefit, that's manipulation, right? And these things can be used both in good ways and in bad ways, right? And as we go through this, I want to make sure we just from the beginning understand this is meant to be used in a good way. This is meant to be used to create positivity, learning, sales, actually solving problems. This is not meant to manipulate, take from people, etc., right? Because everything we're about to cover can be used for the good or the bad. And I want to make sure from the very offset, we know this is meant to be for the good. Good is our focus here today. Now, the beautiful thing about what we're going to go through is they study this, y'all. They study this, okay? Is sales more of an art or a science? Just drop in the chat. What do you think? Is sales more of an art or a science? If you drop that in the chat, I'm curious what everybody thinks here. We got science, art, both, science, art, both, science, art, both. We got like 30% in every single one of these, right? Like, okay. And this is all my favorite thing to cover is like, if people knew how much science went into art, they'd understand that it is definitely a combination of both, but science is actually the heavy behind the art, which is the presentation. Right. They have been studying this stuff for decades, y'all, studying people, how we make decisions, right? What we're going to be learning today, we're not winging it if you're actually using the science to applied with the art, right? So I'd be curious, right? And I'd encourage all y'all, if you forget everything from this, but you walk away from this understanding you need to study influence, study decision-making, and study people, you will be a better seller, CSM, parent, partner, friend, everything is study people. So we're gonna do a quick poll here. I'd be curious. I think, Luis, you have the poll. I'm gonna drop a poll here of how many books have you read on influence? How many books have you read on influence, right? And I guess you're just gonna have to hang around, Gregory, right? We'll see. We'll see if there's anything that you haven't already learned, but I can definitely say I am still learning. So we'll see. We shall see where to go. But go ahead, drop it in there. How many books have you read on influence? I'd be very, very curious to see.
We're getting in on the top vote is 1 to 3 so far. Second place is 0, and third place is 3 to 5. Last place is 5+. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So to give y'all just a taste of this. These are just some of the books and courses that I have read around psychology and influence and persuasion. I am a never-ending student of this, right? These are just sum up. So when I say I'm a student, when I say I am learning, when I say what I just said of like, I'm still learning. So I don't know if there's something here, whether or not everyone knows everything on here or not. This here, y'all, I love this stuff. I'm obsessed with these things of understanding how we make decisions, how we buy, how we can influence, right? So go ahead, screenshot this if you want. But like if you go through this, right, you will be a better seller, right? You will be a better seller. And also too, as sellers, I'm going to encourage you, like, y'all, let's read this stuff. Let's read it, right? Imagine what would happen if you read 20 books on influence, 30 books on influence, 50 books on influence. You're going to be a better seller. So what we're going to be going through today is going to be from two of my favorites, right? Two of my favorites we're going to go through heavily today here, okay? So the first one is Law of Influence. Someone noticed it. It's the first one on this book. And the first one we're going to break down is the Laws of Influence, right? This is an all-time classic. Robert Cialdini. This is a must read. It's one of the first ones that came out on influence. Massive studies were done around how we make decisions and how we can change behavior. So what I'm going to convey to y'all is the data is there. What we're going through today is not suggestions. It's not like, oh, I think this is good. This is studied and proven. And he came up with the 7 laws of influence, and then we're going to apply them to sales today. He also wrote a great follow-up book called Persuasion. Right? Persuasion is his follow-up book, which I really, really would encourage reading as well. But we are going to dive in here and kick this off. So the first law of reciprocity. The law of reciprocity is the first law of influence. The desire to give back in kind. Meaning, if we give first, people are more likely to comply. Right? When we give first, people are more likely to comply. This is a very, very powerful method in the sales process, right? And the gives don't have to be equal. So one of the classic examples, I'm going to date myself here a little bit, is at LAX, the airport in Los Angeles. Growing up for me, always, there would be monks outside the airport, right? There'd be monks outside the airport, and they would be giving flowers away. They'd be giving flowers away. And they actually studied this, is if you took a flower from them, you donated 7 to 10 times more money than if you did not. This is a 2-cent dandelion from the side of the road. But if they could get you to take the flower, you donated 7 to 10 times more, right? So the give does not have to actually be equal. Right? Give does not actually have to be equal, is that you have to give first, right? This was so powerful that they actually made it against the law, right? You can't do this anymore at the airport. And also, has anyone here ever heard of the puppy dog close? Anyone here ever heard of the puppy dog close? Anyone here heard of the puppy dog close? Because this is one that used to be very, very popular as well, right? So the puppy dog close was this. Some of y'all have seen this, right? Which is like, you know what? So Luis, why don't we do this? Getting a puppy is a very, very big decision. Why don't you just take it home for the night? Why don't you just take it home for the night? And if it feels like a good fit for you and your family, you can keep it. If not, go ahead and bring it back, and that's okay.
I've heard car salesmen do that, where they loan out sometimes or let you test drive the car, and right. you get a good feel for it. Yeah, right. Somebody said as a car salespeople trick.
Right, like who brings a puppy back, right? So like they actually made this against the law, right? But right, when you look at software, when you look at selling, there are places where you can give first, right? There are places that you can give, right? Whether that is gifts, direct mail, referrals, references, recommendations, right? Like look for places that you can give before making an ask, right? Before making some asks, right? Okay. So Marco, I need you to explain the question a little bit more here. Prospect customer input.
We'll just for time's sake, for efficiency, we have the questions. We have the questions tab. Marco, if you have the question, just post it there, and at the end during the Q&A, we'll answer and address everybody.
All right. So the first one is you got to look at where can you give first in the sales process. This is the first law to look into. Next one, law of authority. This is huge. It's the desire to trust and agree with experts based on visual cues, right? That also want to look at, okay, how you represent yourself, right? Uniform and language are very key here to establish yourself as an authority, right? And to establish yourself an authority in the space you're selling in. So as sellers, this is actually a double challenge for us. We need to be experts in selling, but we also need to be experts in the world we sell to, right? So if you sell to HR, you need to be listening to HR podcasts, watching HR YouTubes, reading HR books. If you sell into security, you need to be listening to security podcasts, security webinars, reading security. You need to be an expert in the world of who you sell to. And this is where a lot of sellers get into trouble, is they don't actually understand their prospects' world. Right? They're good sellers, but they never really became an authority in the space they are selling to. You have to read what they read, listen to what they listen to, dress. And this is actually important, dressing how their bosses dress. And this is something that I know gets hated on online, and people say, oh, well, how you dress doesn't matter. It actually does matter, right? It does matter. If you are showing up to talk to a CEO, can y'all imagine if I was talking to a CEO and I showed up like this? If I showed up like this to present to a CEO, like of a 100, 200, 300 million dollar company, right? You do need to match, whether we like these studies or not. We need to rely on the studies to say, hey, right, this is key, right? Is like, you need to represent yourself well, depending on who you are selling to, right? And this is also huge for sales. Where can you pull in authority? So if you're talking to a C-suite, what other C-suite exec could you pull in? Whether that's internal, whether that's external, right? That law of authority, right? We choose to follow those we feel have authority in us. And this is also a big one. This came from one of my favorite courses, Ultimate Influence, is the strategic leads. This is a very powerful tactic to establish authority. So if I ask Luis, so like, how's pipeline looking right now? Right? It's an open-ended question. I said, how's pipeline looking right now? How is your pipeline? That's one question. But if I ask it this way, so how's pipeline looking for you right now? I know some are watching it drop. Others are seeing, the CAC has gone up a lot. Others are seeing more getting pushed. Like, what's it looking like for you? When you ask the question and then have the strategic leads afterwards, it elevates you to a place of like, oh, they know what they're talking about. So this helps you establish authority when you go through it, which makes it more likely for them to comply, right? Next one, right? And this is the illusion of choice that I just talked about, is like the strategic leads after a question. What are the most likely answers? You throw them out, right? It's like, so what are you seeing with CAC? Is it going up? Is it coming down? Like, are you having chat? Like when you suggest, and what's amazing, y'all, is you realize you do this in the real world all the time. My favorite example, everyone resonates with this. My favorite example, if I, finish up work today and I go to my wife and say, hey, babe, what do you want for dinner? Hey, babe, what do you want for dinner? What answer do you think I'm going to get? What do you want for dinner? Luis, I'm sure you may have lived this. What is?
I don't know. That's
right?
Like, what do you mean you don't know? I'm hungry, but I don't know.
Right? I don't know. What do you want? And then you say, I don't know. What sounds good to you? And now we're in the never-ending game of I don't knows until we go. Versus, and this is important because as sellers, we're taught to ask open-ended questions. Some of the best questions you can ask are open-ended with suggestion. Hey, babe, what do you want to do for dinner tonight? We could go grab pasta at the place that's around the corner. We could order in. Actually, we wanted to try the burger spot. Like, what sounds good? When you throw out a couple suggestions, it makes it easier, right? It makes it easier, right? So some of y'all are playing the ultimate trick of this. I love this one. It's like, hey, babe, you'll never know where we're going to dinner tonight. Take a guess. Shake Shack? Nailed it. Get in the car, baby. Let's go, right? But the options, the suggestions, right? That makes it easier to answer, right? It makes it easier to answer. That is the key. Then we get to one of the most powerful laws in influence that we can use, but also hurts us. It's one of the most powerful, the law of consistency and commitment, okay? The desire to maintain consistency with what we've already said or done. This is very, very important. This is actually what you're overcoming more often than not in sales, is they've already done something once. They've already done something once. And so they want to stay consistent with it. This is why unselling is so important in the sales process. And we don't have time to go into unselling today, but you have to unsell people on where they are now to make room for something new. But it's also important is if we can get them to state things they need to be consistent with. This is why, for example, problem-based discovery is so important. If I can never get you to agree you have a problem, there's nothing to move away from. But once I can get you to say you have a problem, you have to stay consistent with the fact you said you had this problem, right? Too many times sellers are only focused on, well, where do you want to go? And the good, I need to get you to say there's a problem in here, right? Okay, so this is what you're trying to get them to agree to things. Is this a little bit faster? Could this allow you to do X, Y, Z a little bit better? What are you dealing with? Oh, I'm getting an echo. Are we good? Here we go. Can you? Will you? Right? You said, you mentioned. This is why asking great questions is so important, right? And Jay, I'm going to use a slight flip of words here. It's not using their words against them. It's using their words to help them. You know what I'm saying? Like it's not adversarial. I'm not trying to use it again. I'm trying to help them in sales. I'm trying to help them solve a problem, right? But if I can use their words, right? Their words. So actually, so Jay, earlier you mentioned that, you know, reps aren't ramping as fast as you were looking for. Let's go back to that again, right? I'm using their words to help them understand, because as people, do we ever flip-flop? Do we ever say we want one thing and then do something else? You ever say like, go for it, Luis?
Well, to me, it sounds like it's also, I don't know if it's like using the words against them as much as it is for them to become ownership of their situation, right? Mm-hmm. So getting them to buy into the problem that you're trying to solve. Would that be along the lines?
Absolutely. And it's getting them to consist, like they've said, so this was a big study that they did with like street signs. So they went into neighborhoods and they would go, like they knock on the doors like, hey, could we put this huge sign in your yard, this huge sign of your yard that says like drive slow? And of course, like almost everyone said no. But when they started with, hey, you know, do you believe in safe driving? Well, yes, absolutely. Could we put this small sign in your yard? Could we put this small sign in your yard that says, please drive safe? Well, one, I just got you to say you believed in safe driving, step one. Then I asked for a smaller commitment, small sign. Step two, then when they asked for the big sign, significantly more people said yes, because now there was a consistency of like, well, I did tell them I care about safe driving, and I did tell them that I could put a small yard. Okay, now I guess I will do. The small, consistent steps is so key to get people to change their behavior over time. But you got to do small. Not always big, small, and you build up to it. Very important, right? And this one here, y'all, screenshot this, write this down. The first thing you are trying to sell somebody on is change. If you cannot get someone to agree to change something, they're not going to buy something. So one of my favorite sales questions to ask is like, I mean, so something's got to change, right? So if I've done discovery right, and I've uncovered the problems, and I've uncovered the pain, and I've uncovered where they're trying to go, before I'm even getting into the demo, I'm saying, okay, well, if you want to fix those things, something has to change, right? Like we can't keep doing the same thing. That I'm getting commitment to change first. Then I'm presenting the product that they should change to. This is very, very, very important and powerful. Okay. Then we move to the next one. Law of likability. Law of likability. The desire to agree with a person who resembles you or shares your same values, aka cares about the same things. Rapport and likability are two very different things, right? Rapport is like a connection, or truthfully at its core, rapport is likeness. You are like me. Like me. Likability is you like me. Are y'all hearing the difference there? Right? Rapport is you're like me. You're a CRO. You're a seller. Da 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 da. Whereas you like me means there's a connection, right? That there's something that we agree upon. right? It's a very different thing, right? We can both be bowlers, rapport, right? But if you don't enjoy engaging with me, I'm not likable. Tone, energy, stories, right? Compliment them, encourage them, teach them something, right? And to be very clear, not everyone is going to like you the same way you don't like everybody, right? Some of y'all probably can't stand me. That's okay. That's okay. All I can do, though, is be myself, bring energy, tell stories, and try to bring some positivity into the situation, right? But too many sellers, they don't actually focus on how, y'all, just to sum this up, have a little bit more fun, y'all. Have a little bit more fun. Laugh, tell jokes, admit when you mess up, call out when you get something wrong, bring up funny stories. Like the likability, and y'all know this, there are people in your world that you respect, but you don't like. If you can be more likable in sales, it's like we've lost this. It's like this, just let's have a little bit of fun with this, y'all. Like it goes so far in the long run to be more likable, right?
Kevin?
Yeah, go for
it. I have a question with that in regards to likability. When it comes to being genuine, is there something like, I know for me, like with my clients, sometimes is building rapport and getting to know them on a personal level. I think what you said, something that struck to me about being real, right? I think being in sales and doing business, sometimes we look at least our prospects as a transaction rather than a human, right? And I think that's what removes the being genuine in the interaction, is realizing that, hey, you're dealing with another human being and connecting with them at that level. I don't know if you can speak into that as far as, because I think it's an alignment to being genuine and likability, right?
Absolutely. Like at the end of the day, if you don't care about your prospects, you're never going to sell as well. You're just never going. It's funny, y'all. I'm not a big believer in that you have to love your product. I'm a big believer in you have to love your prospect. I have sold all sorts of different products, y'all. It's actually something I'm very proud of in my career. There's been zero product overlap. Zero. I have sold to education. I have sold to corporate. I have sold to HR. I've sold to home services, electrical, plumbing, HVAC, accounting, small business. There's no overlap. I care about my prospects. I want to help this business owner. I want to help this CEO. And if we focus there, but then also too, to Luis's point, like be genuine, y'all. Be genuine. Be yourself. Sometimes, like actually in my home office, I have a sales hat. But I use it as an example to take your sales hat off. Because too often we put on this sales hat and now it's like Mr. Kevin Dorsey. Right?
Yeah, uptight.
Yeah, be real, right? Be real, right? So likability, and this is a big one, smile, y'all. Somewhere down the line, smile and dial got a bad meaning. No, it was from a good smile and dial. Smile, bring that energy, right? Be just a happy, actually, y'all, I just had a conversation with my CEO yesterday. We're going through all sorts of fun stuff right now. And I say fun, I mean challenging. And he's like, KD, one of the things I love working with you on is like, you're almost always positive. Like you smile, you laugh things off versus internalizing them, right? Smile, likability, have some fun with this, y'all. Next big one, law of social proof, the desire to follow the lead of those similar to you. This one's very, very important because a lot of sellers do social proof the wrong way. We work with 10,000 customers. We work with Facebook and Google and Amazon. I want to know people like me, same size, same industry, same vertical, same position, right? Social proof. They want to be like people similar to them. And this is massively, massively underused in the sales process, massively. When you are giving a presentation, there should be quotes from customers on every single slide. When you are sending emails, there should be quotes from customers on every single email that you send, right? All of these things, right? You have to amplify customer voices big time, right? Always, 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 right? Add them to each and every slide. Create a deck full of customer stories. Actually, when I was at Patient Pop, I had my marketing team build a deck of cards. It had 52 customer testimonials on it. And the card showed what problem they were dealing with, what practice they were in. And then on the back, it had a customer quote and the results that we got them. And when we'd get to the end of the sales process, we would just start pulling these cards out. I mean, actually, Luis, you remind me a lot of Charles. So Charles was a podiatrist in Utah who was about the same size as you. And this is that law, but you need to amplify social proof way more. And most people don't, right? And this is a big one. And actually, let's see if we're paying attention. If I show them 7 or 8 testimonials, and then I ask them, which one sounds most like you? What other laws am I using? What other laws am I using? If I put 7 or 8 testimonials in front of them and say, actually, which one sounds most like you? I'm using this law of social proof. What other law would I be using in that moment? What other law would I be leveraging? I'm going to double up on law. I'm also going to double up on the law of consistency, right? I'm like that person. Mm-hmm. Social proof. And then someone else nailed it, authority, because I've already helped this person. So now I'm leveling up my authority. This is what we've done. I'm saying these are some of the people we've held. Oh, and which one is most like you? Consistency. That's a triple up in the laws. These are the types of things that you need to be doing in your sales process, right? Then another big one, y'all, pull in customers early and often, because sellers, I'm gonna be honest, when do we normally bring in references? When do we normally bring in references on deals? Beginning, middle, or end? When do we normally bring in? There we go. Some of us are being honest. A lot of times we don't. Until what? This is actually, another law example. We normally don't bring in references, Tony nailed it, until they ask. Okay. What if I gave them references early? What other law are we leveraging there? What other law are we leveraging there? As I say, and actually, you know what, Leon, I know you're going to want to talk to some people. I actually got 3 people lined up for you here. Social proof. And then there we go. Reciprocity. I'm giving first. Y'all see how these can overlap if done the right way, right? Like, don't wait for it. You know they're going to want it. Bring it in. Now we have law of social proof, law of authority, because if it's social proof, it's also going to be someone like them. Likability, they're hearing from a customer like them. And then we got the reciprocity because we gave first. Like, y'all, this is the fun stuff if you do it. This is the stuff that really drives things forward. And the last one on the law here, law of scarcity. Okay, this one actually gets butchered in sales all the time because we try to create fake scarcity. Real quick, what's fake scarcity? Give me some examples in the chat. What's fake scarcity, right? Where we try to fake scarcity. End of month, end of quarter. I only got 3 spots left. Limited time offer. This is the last one I've got, right? Ooh, let me see if I still have some inventory, right? Like, we do all this like fake scarcity stuff and like no one believes it. I love when a seller is like, hey, if we can get this done by the end of the month, I can give you XYZ. All right, you're going to give me XYZ regardless. Let's just be very clear. Okay. Like, we create fake scarcity, right? This works well in a competitive market, meaning if they get your tool first, they're going to be ahead of everybody else. That can be a lever of scarcity, but also deadlines and discounts only really work if you hold to them at the end. And this is a big one. It has to be real. And my teams, we could go up on negotiation and discount. We proactively discount. So when we get into pricing, it's like, so Luis, here's everything you're going to get for it. Here's what it costs and why it's worth it. Okay. But we have some discounts that we can offer if certain criteria are met. Would you like to hear them? We have some discounts we can offer if certain criteria are met. Would you like to hear them? Yeah, sure. So we've got our social proof discount, meaning if you sign up and are willing to write about us, we can do this for you. We also have our fast movers. If we can get this done within the next XYZ days, shout out Capone. Capone's so good. Love Todd. Right. Next few days, we can do this for you. If those can't happen, that's okay. Here's the full price. But if we can do these things, and this is the key, y'all, we hold to it. We hold to it. If we don't get that contract signed by XYZ, the price is this. We hold to it. That is what makes scarcity real, right? But when you proactively present it, I'm also giving a discount first. What other law am I using? What other law am I using, y'all? I give the discount first. I give it first. I'm using law of reciprocity. I'm giving it first, right? That's the only way it actually works, right? So fake scarcity ruins rapport and trust, just ruins it, right? Because y'all, sometimes I think people think like buyers are dumb, like that we don't know that it wasn't a real deadline. Like we got to make sure that if it's scarce, right? So laws of influence. Go read Influence by Cialdini. Go read Persuasion. Those are some of my favorites. Real quick, if you're still with me, drop me a thumbs up. We getting some juice from this? We getting some juice from this, or should we just shut this bad boy down? We're getting some juice. You see how we can leverage some of this? There we go. We got some guesses. As long as there's one, as long as one person is getting some value from this, that's all I'm looking for in all this. Now we get to Methods of Persuasion, one of my second favorite books on persuasion, right? This one is amazing. And why? It's taught by an illusionist. It's taught by an illusionist, which is not a business person, not a salesperson, an illusionist, right? These are the guys that like ask you a question and then 10 minutes later, they're like, oh, by the way, what number are you thinking of? You're like 11. You're like 11. You're like, how? It's an amazing read. Go buy this book today. I'm not affiliated. I don't make money off this. Go buy this book today. Once you start reading it, you won't be able to put it down. You will finish it over the weekend, right? It is unreal. We're going to break down some of my favorite methods, right? Now, he has 3 books, Methods of Persuasion, Imagine Reading This Book, and The Thin Red Line. Go read all of those, right? Go read all of them, but they are great. Vitaly, I don't even have an Amazon referral ring. I should probably get one of those for how often I give books out to people, okay? So these are the methods of persuasion: mold the perception, elicit congruent attitudes, trigger social pressure, habituate your message, optimize your message, drive momentum, sustain their compliance. And you can see where some of these, right, fall into. But what I love about how he did this is notice how he buckets when they should happen. So Cialdini talks very good about the laws, but it's like, okay, where do I use them? Whereas Kalenda is like, okay, before you ask for something, mold, elicit, trigger, habituate. During, you're optimizing and drive. After, sustaining, right? So one of my favorite things he covers in this book is called priming. And we actually tested this when I was at Service Titan. I split tested my team. You use this opener on your script, you use this opener on your script. And we were leveraging priming. So priming is the use of specific words to elicit the ideas or thoughts that you want, right? So there's a study that they did where they had people coming in and they thought they were doing like a spelling study, where it's like, can you spell these words? The group that spelled normal words compared to the group that spelled words that were associated with being old, wheelchair, senior citizen, care facility, like older words, walked slower after the study. Are y'all hearing me on this? Right? The study had nothing to do with their ability to spell. It had everything to do with how words could impact physical reaction. The people that were spelling words associated with being old walked slower after it. Walked slower after. So priming, right? Think about the behaviors you want your prospects to take and find ways to place those words in. So one that we implement is the word curious, open. So Luis, actually, I'm curious if you'd be open to having a quick conversation, see if we might be able to help you out a bit. When we implemented words like curious and open in the opener, our conversation acceptance rate went up. Curious and opener got added, and then it like you can prime these types of things, right? Words like, so we are committed to you. I'm committed to making sure you see this through. I'm committed to making sure that we can help you. And I'm committed to making sure that I'm there to support you if anything goes wrong. What word am I dropping? What word? I'm committed. I'm committed. I'm committed. I'm committed. but it's also a way to prime them for committed. So if you're willing to commit to this, we're willing to commit to you. Can we make this happen? Right.
Hey, Kevin, sorry to interrupt. Since you brought me up as an example in this case, well, as you haven't throughout the presentation, but another thing that's coming up with the priming and the words, how much of it is tone? And I think you mentioned it in your presentation, but as far as percentage wise between the wording and the tone, how much is tonality versus wording?
It depends on if you're in person or over the phone or in Zoom. This is actually very important. So when you are in front of someone, the word is about 60%. The word is about 40%. Body language is about 30%. I believe then your tone is about 20-30%, right? Like body language, tone, and the word. When you are virtual, almost 90% of the meaning of what you're doing comes from tone. Oh, wow. Because we do not have the same ability for body language. We do not have the same presence, right? Shout out Jeremy Miner. I've had good combos with Jeremy over the years. We did a podcast together. Go look it up, right? But like the tone makes up almost even more, because on your screen, Luis, how big am I right now? On your screen.
Right now, I have you right at the bottom.
That is right.
Yeah,
sure. So the tone has to be even more important here, almost more important, right? So the tonality is important, because also y'all can, is my hat too big? Oh no, my hat's too big. All right, let's move it up a little bit. Okay. But like we also, and you know this, that tone, that salesy tone. Hey, Luis KD over at Pipe Drive. How's your Tuesday going? You're like,
too much. Well, it brings me back to the other point that you brought up about smiling and dialing. Like I used to do sales too, and I've heard too, just by smiling, that adjusts the tone itself, just the fact of the smile. So
and this is also important when, especially on cold calling, you want to have what I call the relaxed smile, not the energetic smile, right? So a relaxed smile is more like, hey, like I'm just happy to be here. Just happy to be here. Whereas if you're too energetic, it actually pushes people away because your tone is too much, right? It just catches people off guard versus pulling people in a little bit, right? We're going to get to tone here in a little bit. So the first one, mold their perception, right? And actually, I want to touch on what Susan said here real quick. Physical posture on the phone, right? You want to take the posture that allows you to deliver the tone you're looking for. So one of the things that I really teach, especially in cold calling, is we want like a curious but calm tonality. So I actually teach my reps to sit back. And this goes against what a lot of people teach. I actually teach them to sit back when they're calling, because I want more of a relaxed tonality. I want more of a curious tonality of like, so I mean, Luis, like, tell me what's happening over at Pipe. I want it to slow down a little bit, right? Because sometimes if we're up here, we are tight. So whatever body position allows you to deliver the tone you're looking for, right? If you're a tone, right? Like that's where good. Like I'm a pacer. I have to pace. When I'm on the phone, I'm in a 3x3 invisible jail cell, but I'm pacing, right? But I'm moving, but I'm relaxed. But y'all, I'd encourage you, sit back, right? Like it changes your tonality. Okay. So molding their perception, this is big, of like molding it, right? It was like, can you get them to state a commitment? We talked about this one, right? Could this get you more or less than? This is one of my favorite questions of like, not how do you like this, right? Not how do you like this, right? But like, could this help you do X? Could this help you get more of Y, right? Like I want the outcome in there, right? How can we get this done by? Right. And this is important. And this is like by the time you know is too fast, because then it sets up a different ask afterwards. Pricing, anchoring high and working down. Right. So y'all, true story, almost everywhere I have worked, we have raised prices. So I had more room to discount. We raised prices. So I had more room to discount. Right. Like when people talk about discounting, it's like, actually, we'll do this real quick. Impromptu poll. How many of y'all prefer to buy at full price versus getting a discount? Real quick in the chat. Who likes to pay full price? Who likes to get a discount when you buy something? Curious here real quick. Let's see here. No one has said full price. Interesting. But then in sales, what do we try to do? In sales, we're taught not to discount because it devalues the product. But wait. Everyone here just said, okay, people expect a discount. And what gets taught in sales, and this is funny, it gets taught often, I won't name drop people, where they say, if you discount, it devalues. It's actually the complete opposite. When you feel like you got a great deal, it increases the value in your mind. I will say that again. When you feel like you got a great deal, it increases the value in your mind. It does not decrease it. Take that for what it's worth, y'all, okay? Anchoring expectations. We did this one already a little bit, but convey high expectations, okay? People value when they believe it's more premium, right? It's the belief that it's premium and getting a discount, right? Premium and a discount is the best situation, right? This is expensive. And it's worth it. But I'll work with you a little bit here, right? And the best is sharing why other people bought it at that price. Yeah, it's expensive, but let me tell you why Luis paid for it.
Have you seen the social experiment with Payless?
Oh, I feel like I have, but I'll remind
in
me.
Beverly Hills, where they opened up, they called it Paylessy, and they turned it into a high-end shoe store, but it was all with Payless shoes. And everybody was paying $300, and some people were like, "This is amazing quality" and everything like that. When they walked out, they were like, "You got to be kidding!" And so the perception that's like an amazing social experiment.
And there's so many. Y'all realize, like, you know, I don't want to. I'll use an example, right? It's like, what's one of the most expensive tequilas out there, right? A lot of people will recognize it. If you're a tequila person, right? It's the beautiful bottle, the Clase Azul. Right, the Clase Azul, the 1942. Okay, you realize that those never come close to placing in the top of the best tequilas in the world, ever. But they're priced premium. So when people see it, they go, "Oh, that must be a good tequila." That's not how it works, right? Or sorry, that is how it works. Like, that priming is there, right? This is another one, right? Body language. We talked about smile. Now, have y'all noticed real quick? Even on this webinar, do I move a lot? What can y'all see right now? This is actually very, very important. What can you see right now? Right? Even on this webinar, you can see my hat apparently, but you can see my hands. This is actually very important. So, more psychology. When you can't see someone's hands, it creates distrust. We're actually wired this way, right? When you can't see someone's hands, it creates distrust, right? Because as humans, we are wired. If I can't see your hands, I don't know what you're doing. I don't know who you are. I don't know what you're about. They actually study this in gyms. Wearing weightlifting gloves versus not, people talk to you less. Wearing weightlifting gloves versus not, people talk to you less. When hands are covered, it tends to be a threat. So big gestures, big things, right? Because also too, and y'all forget, if I could see all y'all, I probably couldn't see your hands. Right?
I gotta show my hands more.
But y'all, watch this real quick. Y'all, if I were like this, what do you think I'm doing right now? I'm not moving. You can't see my hands. What am I doing right now? I'm tight. Like, this is my favorite thing. It's like, people, you think we can't tell? You think we can't tell when you're not paying attention? You stop moving. Okay? Be present, right? I am present for y'all. I ask the present back. Pointing, nod, leaning. And I can promise y'all, we're not on Zoom, but this is always one of my favorite exercises to do. If I could see y'all, and if we were to play this back, you'd be shocked how often I've gotten you to nod during this presentation. You'd be shocked how many times I've gotten you to nod during this presentation without even realizing it, without even asking for it. Okay? Y'all are all of a sudden like, "Oh shit, he's got me," right? Okay, I've had you. I've had you for 40 minutes, right? Because I got you to mimic the same body language and agreement I'm looking for. The power of the pause, okay? Even the disagreement, right? agree that, hey, yeah, actually, we don't see this eye to eye right now. It actually, now you are in agreement, right? So these are things, y'all, where it's congruent attitudes and behaviors, okay? Social pressure, we've already done this one a little bit. We're coming up on time, so I want to make sure we have time for Q&A, but really painting the picture, right? Really painting the picture of what it means to be a part of something here. Find the similarities with them, but also with others, okay? Habituate. This is follow-up, y'all. And if we're honest, as sellers, we tend to not be great at the follow-up, okay? You have to habituate the message, right? It doesn't just mean nonstop follow-up. It means being places subtly. LinkedIn, email, the phone call. But this is key. Your message need to be consistent with what you're helping them with and what they told you, right? And then this is huge, positive testimonials everywhere. They're reading it. Another powerful thing for you. When you have them read the testimonial, they're hearing it in their voice. This is actually very important. When they read the testimonial, they hear it in their voice, which makes it more believable, okay? It's very, very important, okay? So I'm going to skip this one for now. That was a little bit heavier. I want to make sure we have time for questions. So I want to jump into one last thing here before we go through this, which is this. Pressure doesn't work. Pull versus push. Pull people in. When you push people, they push back. When you pull people, they come with you. This is actually taught in Judo, right? Our natural reaction is when someone pushes us, we push back. If someone's pushing you, if you want to get away from them, the easiest thing you do is you pull. It takes away all their leverage. It takes away all their leverage, right? If someone's pulling you, same idea. If I were to grab Luis and like I'm trying to pull Luis and he pulls back, we're in friction. The easiest way to get out of that pull is just to go into it. They lose all of their leverage, right? So you want to leverage Judo, right? So one, giving people a feel of control. Giving someone a feel of control. Here are a few ways to go about this versus let's get you started with this. You want to actually make it easier for them, right? When we feel pressure, this is another one. How does this or this work? We all know the either or, right? But this or this, which one would feel better for you? Notice the language I use. Which one would feel better for you, right? And this is one that people are told not to do, that you're not allowed to give an out. Read Science of Selling. They did a huge study on this. It's actually the opposite. Where I say, hey, like Luis, like this may not be a good fit for you, but I want to see how this might work. This may not be a good fit for you. Let's see if this can work. It switches it over, right? You may not be dealing with this. You can tell me to kick rocks, right? Like you give them an out and it actually makes them more likely to agree. Whereas if we trap people in a question, it does not work the way that we want it to, right? So we have 6 minutes left here, y'all. I had a couple more, but this one a little bit longer, but I wanted to make sure we could knock out some questions here. But drop a chat. If you got some value from this, if you got some juice from this, like let me know. There's some things here that we'll share afterwards, but hopefully you got some value from this. But I did want to make sure we got some time to answer some questions while we got everybody here live.
Yeah, for sure. And at the bottom, if you notice here in the bottom left-hand corner, my teammate Dina just posted a link so you guys could submit your feedback and rate your experience of this awesome webinar that we were provided here by Kevin. So you can go ahead and submit your feedback there. So we can jump in to the questions. We have a feature here as Kevin is going through them where you could do an upvote so we can get to the top ones. I don't think we're going to be able, because of the time, we're going to be able to get through all of them. But we will. Afterwards, we'll send the answers to all the rest of the questions. So we'll go with the first one here by Leon. Put it up here live. Do you see that, Kevin?
Yeah. All right. So this is a good one. What if I sell to a large variety of industries? Kind of difficult to become an expert in so many of them. This is where the 80-20 rule applies, Luis, is call it 80% of being an expert is going to come from 20% of the topics. So that's one, is like, how can you narrow, like, what are the big topics in that industry, right? And my guess is there's probably a little bit of overlap. If you can't do it by industry, you do it by persona. So are you selling to the same type of persona, right? Is becoming an expert on how CFO thinks. And if they're a CFO in automotive, manufacturing, pharmaceutical, medical, there's going to be overlaps in the persona, right? So that's how I would approach this.
Yeah, for sure. Just to add from my experience too, is that we have different industries. They are a pipe drive, but at the end of the day, the persona is a small to medium sized businesses. So adjusting and talking to that, at least from my experience, serves to go in alignment to your answer there. So thank you. Next question here by Karen Lee. How to best cold call into company when you don't have the contact name? Suggestions, please. Receptionist, admins, transfer to low level person, not management. Company does not want Apollo.io. Thank you.
Our best cold calling company, you don't have the contact. So if you don't have the contact, so actually funny enough, it was one of my favorite leverage in time psychology. So the 2 C's of influence. So the 2 C's of influence are correct or confirm. Correct or confirm. As human beings, we almost can't help but correct someone if they're wrong or confirm if they're right. So there's 2 ways to handle this. The first way is you suggest someone. Hey, Luis, was hoping to chat with the person at your company that handles like procurement type conversations. I'm pretty sure that is, pretty sure that's Dina. Could you transfer me over, please? And when you suggest with why you want to talk to that person, if it's right, they'll go, oh yeah, no, that sounds right. Or if it's wrong, they'll correct you. Oh, no. Dina doesn't handle procurement. That's Samari. So like, that's one way is you suggest. You should always suggest something. So always suggest an email. Same idea of like, so what's Dina's email versus is Dina's email still dina.osman@? They'll correct you if it's wrong or confirm that it's right. That's number 1. Number 2 is actually asking them, you empower them. Hey, Dina, like, you've been there for a while. You know that place better than I do. I want to make sure I'm not wasting anybody's time over there. Who handles X? I don't want to waste the time if they don't even handle it. So I prop them up. You know this place. You've been there. You're the expert. Elevating them, likability, and then also saying like, hey, I don't want to waste their time. That's protecting their time. Who would handle this? That's my second favorite, is I give a reason why. That is a good reason why to tell me, right? It's a good reason why to tell me. That's where I'm looking for. But like David nailed it. It's like that asking for help. Like, hey, like I just need some help here. Can you point me in the right direction? So that's how I would handle this one.
Great stuff. Let's go to the next one here. Alejandro. Yeah, go ahead.
This is a fun one. So I'll say there's 1 notch up, 1 notch down of who you are, right? So if I'm talking to someone, right, and it's like, say I'm talking to this happened, right? Where I'm talking to a CEO of a Fortune 500 company. Yeah, the suit jacket comes out, right? You slow down some of the slang, right? I come up 1 notch, but I'm not coming up 2 because now I'm inauthentic. So true story, y'all. I had a 6-figure training contract that I backed out of because they didn't like my hat. They said, this is awesome. This is great. We just don't know if the hat's going to work for us. We're more of a suit and tie type place. Like, so if we can lose the hat, we can do this. And I said, nope. No. I said, no, I've done that once. And I felt so inauthentic and I felt so fake and I felt so not myself. And I said, no, this isn't going to work. Right. So similarly, you can bring yourself down a notch if it's a very casual conversation, but I don't go more than 1 notch up or 1 notch down between who I am.
Good stuff. Let me go to the next one. I think we're almost at time here, so we have time for one more. Let's see here. Yeah. Kyle, can you provide any tips for SDRs prospecting into large enterprise accounts?
Okay, this will be a perfect one to end on. It's the 3 I's. So when you're going into large accounts, you have to follow the 3 I's. You go low for info, middle for insight, high for influence. Too often people try to target high first at an enterprise account. You actually want to go low first because there's more points of entry and you can learn more there, right? So by the time I'm reaching out to director or VP, I've already spoken to a manager or a frontline person, et cetera, to learn something, right? So actually, who did this come from?
This came from, give me one sec.
I guess drop it in the chat, whoever's question. Like, what's something you'd like to learn about a prospect that would make it easier to book
Kyle.
Kyle, so what if
yeah.
you could learn about an account that would make it easier to then book a meeting with a director, VP, C-suite? What's something you could learn? What's a piece of information? That's what I'm going for low at, right? Like, so if I was selling pipe drive, right? If I was trying pipe drive, I'd be targeting like SDRs and AEs, right? It's like, yo, does your CRM even have an auto dialer? Does your CRM even have, like, I'd be targeting low so then I can go up high, right? Of like, here's what I know about your business, right? That's the key to, and too often we just do surface level. You got to learn more about their account. So I think we're at time here, y'all. Thank you very much for everyone that hung with me. Thank you very much for everyone that engaged. Again, I hope you got some value from this. I hope you got some ideas from this. I hope you got a little inspiration from this of like, there's levels to this that we can go after. And I just appreciate every single one of y'all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kevin. Appreciate it, and appreciate everybody that attended. Once again, for those that submitted a question we didn't get to the answer, we'll be sending over our answers here after the call. Within a couple of days, you should be able to see that. So once again, thank you for attending, and Kevin, thank you once again for your time.
Thanks for having me, y'all.